It was late at night. The stars were quiet in the sky and the wind was soft, brushing over the dry farmland. Old Gerald sat on his wooden chair just outside his little farmhouse. He was sipping hot tea, his back bent from years of hard work, his hands rough like tree bark. His farm was the last one on the edge of the village, a quiet place where humans had settled after the last galactic war. No one came here anymore. No one. Except the wind. Suddenly, he heard it. Rustle. Rustle. Something moved in the vegetable field. Gerald slowly stood up. He placed his cup down and grabbed the old flashlight. He didn't say a word. His boots crunched on the dry soil as he moved toward the sound. Probably another beast from the mountains, he whispered to himself, but when he pointed his flashlight toward the rows of carrots, he stopped. There, crouched low to the ground, was a small figure. Not a beast, not a wild animal. It was a child. Thin arms, tiny frame. Her skin was light purple, her hair white like moonlight. Her big blue eyes stared at the light, frozen like a deer. Gerald blinked. An alien child. She was holding a half-eaten carrot, her small hands dirty. She looked scared. No, not scared. Terrified. He took a step forward. She dropped the carrot and tried to run, but she tripped on her own weak legs and fell hard into the dirt. Wait, Gerald said gently, kneeling down. I'm not going to hurt you. The child didn't answer. She was breathing fast, backing away like a wounded animal. Gerald looked. At her, really looked. Her clothes were torn, her knees had cuts, her arms were bruised. She hadn't eaten in days, maybe weeks. Are you hungry? He asked. No answer. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a piece of bread. He slowly placed it on the ground between them and stepped back. She looked at it, then looked at him. Then slowly crawled forward and grabbed it with shaking fingers. She devoured the bread like a starving puppy. Gerald sat down in the dirt watching her. You don't belong here, do you? He said. The girl looked at him. Her lips moved, but only soft sounds came. A mix of alien words and broken human language. Gerald didn't understand all of it, but he got one word. Run. You're hiding, he said softly. From someone. She nodded slowly. Gerald sighed. He looked back toward his quiet house, then back at her. This wasn't his problem. He could walk away. He should walk away, but something inside him said no. Maybe it was because she reminded him of his own daughter, long gone. Maybe it was because no child, alien or not, deserved to starve in the dirt. Come on, he said, standing up and holding out a hand. You can sleep in the barn. The girl looked at his hand. She didn't trust it, but she was cold, hungry, alone. So, after a moment, she stood up and followed him. The barn was old, with hay scattered around and tools hanging from the walls. Gerald lit a lamp and placed it near an old pile of blankets. He handed her a warm cloth. You can sleep here, he said. No one comes out this way. The girl curled up in the blanket. She looked even smaller now. Her glowing blue eyes slowly closed. Gerald sat on an old barrel and watched her. Who was she? Why was she running? And what would happen if someone found out he was hiding her? He didn't have the answers. But one thing was sure. This night changed everything. The next morning came with a golden sky and cold air. Gerald walked slowly to the barn with a warm bowl of soup in his hands. His boots made soft thuds on the dirt path. He had not slept much. Thoughts of the alien child filled his night. Who was she? Was someone looking for her? And why did he feel like protecting her? He opened the barn door gently. The child was not sleeping. She sat in a corner, hugging her knees. Her eyes were wide open, watching the small window where sunlight came in. When she saw Gerald, she froze. He held up the bowl. Food. Hot, he said softly. She didn't move at first. Then she crawled forward, careful, slow. like an animal unsure if the hunter had left. She took the bowl and smelled it. Gerald watched her eat. She slurped the soup quickly, barely stopping to breathe. When she finished, she looked at him again. Curious. Careful. What's your name, little one? Gerald asked. She tilted her head, then shook it. No name, he said again, slower. Name. You? The girl pressed her lips tight, then softly said, Not have name. Gerald blinked. No name? Nobody gave you a name? She looked down and whispered something. He couldn't understand the alien words, but the sadness in her voice was clear. Gerald sighed. Can I give you one? She looked up. He thought for a moment, then he said, Leary. The girl repeated it softly. Leary. She touched her chest and said again, Leary. Gerald smiled a little. Good. Leary it is. Later that day, Gerald sat on his porch again, smoking his pipe. Leary was inside the barn, hidden under hay and blankets. He had told her not to go outside. Not yet. Suddenly a sharp knock came at the gate. He stood quickly. It was Mr. Griggs, the village patrol. Morning, Gerald, Griggs said. You hear anything strange last night? Gerald kept a calm face. Just the wind. Griggs looked past him. Somebody said lights were moving in your field. Gerald laughed. I chase off crows with my flashlight, can't afford to lose more carrots. Griggs nodded slowly. Well, just so you know, they're saying a ship crashed near the border. Hills. Some alien survivors escaped. High Command wants them caught. Gerald's face didn't move. Survivors? I thought they were all gone after the last sweep. Guess not, Griggs said. You see anything, tell us. I will, Gerald said and forced a smile. As Griggs walked away, Gerald felt cold sweat on his back. They were already searching. That evening, Gerald brought Leary a comb, a small mirror, and one of his granddaughter's old dresses, stored in a dusty box. She looked at the dress like it was treasure. When she saw herself in the mirror, she touched her face, almost like she didn't believe she was real. Then she pointed at her reflection and whispered, Leary. Gerald smiled. Yes, that's you now. But then she looked serious. She took a piece of chalk from the ground and drew something on the barn wall. A symbol, a circle with 3 stars and a curved line through it. What's that? He asked. She looked at him. My clan. He leaned in. Your family? She shook her head. Gone. Fire. Big men take. Me run. Gerald clenched his jaw. She wasn't just a lost child. She was a refugee, a survivor of something terrible. Soldiers had taken her people, burned her home. Now she had no name, no family, and no safety except maybe here, with him. That night, Gerald couldn't sleep again. He stared at the ceiling, thinking of what would happen if the wrong people found Leary. She was young, she was small, but there was something strong in her too, something bright. He remembered how she said her clan was gone. He thought of how she looked in the mirror, whispering her name like it was a new start. He made a choice. She would not be alone anymore, not while he was alive. 3 days had passed. Gerald now woke up early, not for his crops, but to check on the little alien girl hiding in his barn. Leary had started smiling, just a little. She liked warm bread with honey. She liked stroking the barn cat, who now slept beside her. And sometimes when she thought Gerald wasn't looking, she would hum a strange, soft alien tune. A lullaby. One that sounded both happy and full of pain. But peace never lasted long in their world. The village was changing. Gerald noticed it that morning when he went to town to buy feed. People weren't smiling. Soldiers were walking the roads, and the local children were no longer playing outside. He entered the supply shop. The woman behind the counter, Ma Gilda, gave him a long look. You heard about the bounty? she asked. Gerald raised a brow. What? Bounty? They're offering 100 credits for alien strays, double if the alien's young, alive. She spat on the floor. Disgusting. Using kids like weapons now. Gerald felt cold inside. Any caught? He asked casually. Not yet, but someone's hiding one, I know it. The drones caught a heat signal near the edge of the village, and you know what's there, old man. Gerald nodded slowly. My farm. Magilda narrowed her eyes. You should check your property. For your own safety. He paid for his items and left quickly. That night Gerald walked into the barn quietly. Leary was sitting on a pile of hay, drawing symbols in the dust with her finger. She looked up at him and smiled, but he didn't smile back. Instead, he knelt down and spoke gently. Leary, we have to be more careful now. She tilted her head. Bad men? Yes, he said. They are looking for you. They want to take you. She didn't cry, she didn't panic, she just stared at him, her tiny face serious. Will you give me? She asked softly. Gerald's heart broke. No, he whispered. Never. She crawled forward and hugged his leg. That was the first time. He didn't pull away. The next morning, a strange buzzing filled the air. Gerald stepped outside and looked up. A black drone hovered above his field, scanning. He waved at it and pretended to stretch. The drone paused mid-air, then floated away. But he knew. They were getting closer. Back inside the house, he opened an old wooden box. Inside were keys, documents, and an old ID badge. It read, Gerald Mason, Earth Engineer Division, retired. He sighed. Didn't think I'd need you again. That evening, he returned to the barn with a small silver disc. It was broken long. An old earth cloaking device used during the war. He handed it to Leary. This used to hide soldiers, he explained. Maybe it'll hide you too. Leary stared at it like it was magic. Try it, he said. She placed it on her chest. Soft hum filled the air. Her glowing skin flickered once, then faded into a blur. She was still there, but almost invisible like a ghost in fog. Gerald chuckled. Well, that works. Leary giggled too, her voice echoing like a tiny bell. But his smile faded when he heard something outside. Voices. 2 men. Close. Gerald quickly turned off the barn lamp and pushed Leary into the hay. Hide. Stay quiet. Don't move. She nodded, serious again. He stepped outside and met the 2 men near the gate. It was Griggs again, but this time he wasn't alone. He had a soldier with him. The man wore a gray uniform with blinking lights on his shoulder. Evening, Gerald said. We're doing a sweep, Griggs said. Got permission to search every property near the woods. Any reason, Gerald asked. The soldier stepped forward. A Class 3 alien signature was detected from this location. Gerald crossed his arms. That signal's probably my old heater. It hums loud in winter. The soldier didn't laugh. We'll see. They started walking toward the barn. Inside, Leary could hear boots crunching on gravel. She pressed herself under the hay, hands tight over her mouth. Her heart beat like thunder. The door creaked open. Light swept across the barn. The soldier walked slowly, scanning with a handheld reader. Nothing beeped. He moved closer. Leary held her breath. A single sneeze could end it all. The scanner buzzed, once but then went quiet. The old cloaking disc was still working. Nothing here, the soldier said finally. Let's check the shed, Griggs added. When they were gone, Leary let out a shaky breath. She was safe, for now, but danger was not far, not anymore. The sky turned red at sunset. Clouds hung low and heavy, like they were hiding something. The village was too quiet. No children laughed, no farmers sang. Even the animals were silent. Gerald stood at his front porch holding a rusty rifle. It hadn't fired in years. He didn't want to use it, but tonight something felt wrong. Then it happened. The ground shook softly. Thud. 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 From the main road came 4 black trucks, military grade, not local patrols. They stopped, near Gerald's fence. Soldiers jumped out, their faces covered, weapons glowing blue. These weren't peacekeepers, they were hunters. A woman in silver armor stepped out. Her boots were sharp, clicking loudly as she walked. She held a tablet in her hand. "Old man," she said, "you have one chance." Gerald kept his voice calm. "I don't know what you mean." She showed him a hologram. It was Leary, only younger, dirty, crying, likely from another planet's database. "She's registered as a Class A genetic subject," the woman said. "Escaped from an illegal transport weeks ago. She holds royal lineage, valuable." Gerald's eyes narrowed. "She's just a child." "She's property," the woman said coldly. Gerald gripped his rifle tighter. "Not on my land. The woman raised a brow. "Search the place." Leary sat in the barn, shaking. She had heard the trucks, the boots, the shouting. She pressed the small silver disc against her chest, click, and her body blurred again. But it wasn't perfect anymore. The old device was dying. Sparks flickered. She crawled behind a stack of barrels. Her small fingers covered her mouth as soldiers kicked open the barn doors. A tall soldier entered with a scanner. He passed close to her. Too close. The device buzzed faintly. He paused. Leary's heart nearly stopped. He turned the scanner in her direction. She closed her eyes. But then, boom. Outside, Gerald had fired his old rifle in the air. The loud crack echoed through the village. Soldiers turned. The woman spun to face him. "Are you mad?" "I told you, she's not here," Gerald shouted. "And you won't find her." She raised her hand. "Bring him down." Before they could fire, Gerald ran. Not away, but toward the barn. Inside, Leary peeked out. She had heard the shot. She didn't know what to do. Should she run? Then Gerald burst in. His breath was heavy. His face was pale. "Leary," he whispered. Falling to his knees beside her, she reached for him. "Papa, no time." "Listen to me," he said, pulling a hidden floorboard. Under it, a small tunnel appeared. "You follow this to the woods. Crawl fast, do not stop." She didn't move. Tears filled her glowing eyes. "You come?" Gerald touched her face. "I'll distract them. You run. You live." She shook her head. No leave you." He smiled. "You're strong, Leary. Stronger than me." She leaned forward and hugged him, tight. He held her like a real father. Then he whispered, "Go." Now, she crawled into the tunnel. It was dark, narrow, filled with roots and bugs. But she didn't cry. She kept moving. Behind her, she heard boots crashing into the barn. Shouting. Then, another shot. But this one wasn't from a rifle. It was silent. Cold and final. Leary kept crawling until she saw moonlight. She emerged into the woods, covered in dirt and sweat. She turned back once. The barn was burning. Flames reached high into the sky, and Leary knew. He had stayed behind. He had saved her. She stood under the trees, silent tears on her cheeks. Then, slowly, she turned and walked deeper into the forest, alone. But not afraid, because for the first time in her life, someone had called her family, and that gave her strength. Smoke rose into the cold sky. The barn was gone, nothing left but ash and embers. Soldiers searched the ruins with machines, but they found no child. Only an old man's body, burned and still. Gerald had made his final stand, and he never gave her up. Deep in the woods, Leary sat under a thick tree, her small arms wrapped around her legs. The leaves whispered above her, but she didn't cry. She was silent, strong, just like Gerald had told her to be. His coat was still wrapped around her. It smelled like firewood and honey. Inside one of its pockets, she found something, a small piece of folded cloth. When she opened it, her eyes widened. It was a photo, old and faded. Gerald and a young human girl, his daughter. On the back, scribbled in shaky letters, "Protect what you love. Always." Leary held the photo close to her chest. By sunrise, a farmer named Ellis found her while collecting firewood near the forest trail. He nearly dropped his basket when the blur of her half-working cloaking disc flickered into view. "What the?" She didn't run. She stood up. And she said softly, "No hurt." Ellis stared at her. You're the one the soldiers are hunting." Leary didn't understand all his words, but she could feel the fear in his voice. She took a slow step. "Back, I not weapon," she whispered. "I, child." Ellis blinked. His hands were shaking, but then he saw the coat she wore, the name stitched inside, G. Mason. His eyes softened. You're his girl?" Leary nodded. He say, "I family." Ellis didn't turn her in. Instead, he brought her to an old friend, Mira, a retired village healer, half-blind, sharp as a blade. When Mira saw the girl, she raised an eyebrow. "This one's dangerous." "She's just a child," Ellis said. Mira touched Leary's cheek gently. "And that's what makes her dangerous to men like them." For the next week, Leary stayed hidden in Mira's underground cellar. The old healer taught her words, human words, showed her how to write her name, Liri, they, planted seeds together, crushed herbs, boiled soup. Leary worked hard, never complained. But every night before sleeping, she looked at the photo and she whispered, "Thank you, Papa." One evening, Mira sat beside the candlelight, holding a datapad. News flashes danced across the screen. Soldiers were everywhere. Rewards were growing. Then came a breaking update. Gerald Mason's name flashed in bold. Old human dies protecting illegal alien girl. Locals split between hate and honor. Leary saw the headline. Her little fists clenched. "They lie," she said. Mira looked at her. "Then show them the truth." Leary blinked. "How?" Mira handed her a small silver band. "Your blood, your DNA. It carries power, history, proof of your people. If we send it to the right hands, well, you won't have to run forever." Leary stared at it. She remembered what Gerald had said. "You're stronger than me." She nodded. "I do it." The message was sent, and then silence. For days, weeks, until a ship landed near the hills one night. But it wasn't military. It was marked with the royal sigil Leary had drawn in the barn, a symbol of her lost clan. The door opened, and a woman stepped out. Her skin was the same color, her eyes glowing blue, older, fiercer. She looked at Leary and knelt. "You are the flame," she said. Leary stepped forward. "I was lost. A human found me. His name was Gerald. He gave me family." The woman bowed her head. "Then he is a hero, in our blood." From that day, the hunters stopped chasing, because the girl they once called property was now a symbol, a spark, of peace, of legacy, of one old man's stand. The sky above Mira's cottage was quiet, but Leary's heart was not. She sat at the edge of the small hill staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, her people still lived. Somewhere, Gerald's soul watched her, and now she had to decide who she really was. Behind her, the alien woman, the one with the same glowing blue eyes, stood silently. Her name was Captain Felra, and she was more than a soldier. She was Leary's blood, but not a mother, not a sister, an aunt. And tonight, she had come to tell Leary everything. "You were born on the royal moon of Kirill," Felra said softly, sitting beside her. "Your mother was Queen Aranella, my sister." Leary's eyes widened. "Queen?" Felra nodded. "Yes, you were her only child, the future of our bloodline." Leary shook her head. "No, I'm not special. I was hiding. I was stealing food." Felra smiled sadly. "You were surviving like your mother did, like your people must." She took a glowing cube from her belt and placed it on the ground. It lit up, projecting images in the air. Leary saw a castle made of glass and stars, A beautiful woman with silver robes and the same eyes. Holding a baby. Her. She gave you to. A trusted guard when the invaders came, Velra said. That man died trying to get you to safety. You were lost, until a human found you. Leary's eyes filled with tears. Gerald. Velra nodded. He did what none of our own could. He protected you. Loved you. Without knowing who you were. Leary whispered. He was my father. Inside the cottage, Mira listened from the window. She held the edge of the frame tightly. This little girl had been called a stray, a thief, a mistake. Now she was being called a princess. Back outside, Velra leaned closer. There's more, she said. Your blood has something ancient in. It's something even the Empress herself feared. You carry the light seed, a trait passed once every 1,000 years. Leary blinked. What is it? Velra pointed to the stars. You can speak to the wild. Command nature, machines, even beasts. But it's sleeping, waiting. Leary felt cold. I don't want to control things. I just want peace. Velra nodded. And that is why you deserve to rule one day. Leary shook her head. No, I'm not a queen, I'm not ready. You're more ready than you know, Velra replied. You chose mercy over hate, you chose love, even when it hurt. The next day, a medical transport arrived in secret. Inside it was a healer from Kirill, a man with 6 fingers and golden eyes. He took a small blood sample from Leary. When he scanned it, his eyes widened. It's true, he whispered. She carries both royal flame and the earth resonance. Velra stepped forward. What does that mean? The healer looked at Leary with awe. She's the bridge. Later that night, Mira sat with Velra in the kitchen. She's still just a child, the old woman said. Don't steal her peace now that you've found her. Velra lowered her eyes. Peace won't come to her. It will come from her. Upstairs, Leary sat alone. She looked at the glowing cube again, her mother's face smiling at the baby version of her. She touched it gently, then pulled out the worn photograph of Gerald. She placed them side by side. 2 worlds, 2 families, and she belonged to both. At dawn, she made her decision. I will go, she told Velra, to Kirill, to learn, but not to be queen. Velra asked, then why? To protect the next child like me, Leary said. One day, someone else will be scared, hiding, hungry. I want to be the one who helps. Velra smiled. You already are. The great hall of Kirill shimmered with light. Alien nobles stood in silence. Their gowns glowed. Their armor sparkled. But their eyes, every one of them, were on the small figure walking down the marble path. Leary. No crown, no fancy clothes. Just Gerald's old coat patched in too big. She walked with her head high. Behind her stood Velra, Mira, and the Corellian elders. In front of her, at the edge of a silver platform, waited the Council of Stars. The most powerful leaders of the sector. They had gathered for a single reason, to hear what the child of 2 worlds would say. Leary stepped forward. She opened a simple old paper in her hand, not royal parchment. A crumpled earth notepad, the one Gerald had written on the day he adopted her. She began to speak. Slow, steady, and clear basic. I was found in the dirt. I was cold. I was scared. I had no name. The crowd watched. She held up the paper. A human farmer gave me food. He gave me a name. He called me Leary. He didn't ask what I was. He just gave. Murmurs rippled through the audience. One night the soldiers came. They wanted to take me. He stood in their way. Leary paused, her voice shaking. They burned everything. He died so I could live. He didn't know I was royal. He just knew I was alone. She stepped closer. This is what your laws are. Missing. The high speaker tilted his head. Explain. Leary raised her chin. You have rules, borders, classes, credits, but no kindness, no heart. Gasps filled the room. He was called poor, useless, old, Leary said. But he was more noble than any of you. She pulled out the faded photo of Gerald and his daughter and placed it on the central pillar. This is my father. The lights dimmed. A quiet silence took over. Then, a single elder stood. I vote to change the law, she said. All sentient children shall be protected under galactic code, regardless of race, class, or species. Another elder stood. I second it, one by one. The hands rose, until all stood. Across the galaxy, the news spread like a wildfire. Child princess sparks galactic reform. Old human farmer named hero of peace treaty. Leary Mason, the flame between stars. Statues were built, not just of Leary, but of Gerald, a simple man in old boots holding the hand of a small alien child, in the center of the Earth-Kyril Peace Garden. But the most special tribute came from Leary herself. Years later, when she became an ambassador, she created the Mason Home for Lost Children, a place where orphaned aliens and humans lived, learned, and laughed together. No cages, no numbers, just family. And at the front gate hung a wooden sign. Burned into it were 4 words: protect what you love. One quiet evening, Leary walked alone through the garden. Flowers glowed under the twin moons. She sat by Gerald's statue and pulled out the old photo again. I kept my promise, Papa, she whispered. Then a small alien boy ran up beside her. Ambassador Leary, there's a new girl. She's scared. Leary stood, smiled. Then let's go give her a name.